Welcome to selfdiscoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living right here on Self-Discovery Orchard, selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Sorry, I've been writing orchard everywhere today, so it's on my mind. But we're actually going to be talking about kind of seeing the trees through the orchard, stepping into your creativity. How do we do it? How do we pass the fears? How do we actually allow ourselves to pursue? So my guest today is Susan Isaac. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and she is something quite unique. She does glass blowing more than that, but it emulates your personal radiance. Now, she's somebody that has stepped into the unknown because it intrigued her, the desire was there, and it was like, let's see if I can do it. A girl right after my own heart. We don't know what we can do until we're willing to try. She says, imagine your essence so brightly that people will walk across a crowded room just to get closer to you. Your true personality deserves to be noticed and remembered. And remembered, as a remembered artist for 25 years, she has the talent and techniques to create unique art and designs that emulate your personal radiance that make you a fascinating and unforgettable person. Be prepared to be approached because people are so attracted to you and inspired by you. And how do you get there? Well, we're going to be talking about that today. We're going to be talking about how she started being a glass artist and that, she came from dental hygiene, folks. So the transition from one to the other, from Ontario to the beautiful island of Vancouver Island here, and how she actually allowed folks, the big word, you see me use it all the time, allowed herself to go into discovery. But the confidence she had was in the ability to teach. No matter what she did, where she did it, that teaching ability was there. How to interact with people, how to show them to allow themselves to see what is possible and where to take it, how to hone in those skills. And so trying something different like glass was maybe not such a big leap after all. It intrigued her,
No,
the
it was.
creativity got there. Ah! But I can imagine it's and let's do it. Right? Let's do it. So, I love people that are willing to go out of the comfort zone because when we do, the discovery we make of self and what we're capable of, and the artistry that lies within us, and the expansion of where that can go is exciting and it gets you up every day. Right, love?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, Ontario to the beautiful Vancouver Island, which you came to start an organization around dental hygiene, teaching people that. And then some years later, suddenly going into glass. And we had this conversation just before we started. You'd only done 2 weekends of learning how to do it. And then you decided you were going to teach it. And the statement you made that you made to your husband was, well, I know more than the students. So, so a lot of it is, I've got the basics. I've got the understanding. But if you don't have the passion, it doesn't count, does it?
No, it's too hard
Hmm.
otherwise.
Hmm.
The learning curve is huge
Hmm.
whenever we start anything new. But it's the honeymoon phase that occurs when you have the fire in your belly and the curiosity, then getting up in the morning and learning the next thing and the next thing isn't, you're not saying to yourself, oh God, another learning opportunity. You could add another word in there if you want to, if you're, as you know, I'm being polite, but, but, but I was excited to learn once I walked over that threshold of fear to even do art, and that is a whole story as well. So no, I did not come into this with full-on enthusiasm and joie de vivre,
Hmm.
which is all part of being an artist and being just being a creator, which we all are. It's
Yes.
an important facet in all of our lives, and especially as we age.
Hmm.
Very important. But I came from a abject fear about doing anything to do with art because I had been, when I was 10 years old, I would be leaping up into the air, and I got excited about lying on my back with my feet up against a tree in the backyard, watching a daddy longlegs crawl up the tree, and then run into the house so excited. Guess what I just saw? And my enthusiasm and getting the next box of crayons or sparkles made me even happier.
Hmm.
I was told by my family and society, and it's not just my family, it was how they were brought up in society in general. Schooling was get serious about life, Susan. You can't
Yes.
make a living as an artist.
Right. How many have
And
heard that?
yeah, and so my little 10-year-old spirit, the last time I remember doing anything creative with paints or whatever was painting the life stages of a bee for my grade 5 teacher last week of school as a teaching aid for her. And that's the last memory I have of letting that free spirit and that
Mm.
creative piece of me run wild. And I put it away in a closet.
Oh,
And that didn't come out until I was 42.
right.
I was not an artist. I was not a creative. Other people were, and I wasn't.
Hmm.
And so that disowned self dampened my spirits in that way. Certainly, I was creative with teaching, and I was creative with how I put an outfit together.
Hmm.
So, which is also the shopaholic part of that. Um, was
Relate.
was what I went to look back at that part of my life when I was extremely well dressed in the 80s.
Hmm.
And you know what? I was looking for the next touch of color and the next
Yes.
texture.
Yes.
So
Palette.
the
Mm.
artist piece
Mm.
of me was being expressed, but I didn't even know it.
Hmm.
But that's why I couldn't wait to go out on Saturday and buy the next thing. It
Mm.
wasn't so much that I had to own the next thing. I had to own the next, like you say, what about my palette? It wasn't
Hmm.
complete.
You're right.
That served me very well when I finally owned that I was an artist.
Hmm.
I actually went back to my ideas about fashion, and it helped me put that last piece of glass into a commission at 11:30 at night because we had to deliver it at 9 a.m. the next morning. So I went, oh, I walked around the studio this one night. We're dead tired, my husband and we've got this deadline, and we can't figure out the throat of a hummingbird. Like we kept putting in pieces of glass. It wasn't working. It wasn't working. And I wandered around the studio and I went, if I was a hummingbird and I had these colors on as a jacket, what color a scarf would I want?
Mm.
And then I started searching for the glass and found actually a color I hadn't thought of, which was a shiny orange.
Hmm.
And I put it in the neck, like we just placed. I said, honey, I found this piece of glass. What do you think? And the two of us both knew that's it. Wrap it up. We got it. It's done. And so my fashion and
Mm.
shopping and the expense that I put out on how I spent my money in the 80s, oh my God, came in handy. There you go.
Right.
But
Well, you
yeah,
never know what's going to lead you to where you need to
yeah.
be, right? And clothes are very important to me as well. And it isn't that, I need to have, I've got too many clothes in my wardrobe and I don't have enough places, it's all head up. I'm
Hmm.
either seeing grandchildren or going out with my 90-year-old friend. So I hardly ever wear these clothes nowadays. But it's how they make you feel. They're an expression of
Hmm.
yourself. And while you were
Yeah.
seeking your palette, seeking your color, it was an ignition of your creativity that was leading
Hmm.
you down that road again. And when we don't suppress it, I'm known as a colorful woman. All you have to do is look at my site. Everything is color. It's extremely important to me. It is a frequency and a vibration for which we resonate on. And when we
Yeah.
embrace that and how, what is our blank canvas? What brush are we going to paint across here? What colors are going to represent how we feel or what statement we want to say?
Hmm.
I think it's exciting when we allow ourselves, no matter how it came about, right? You were seeking
Hmm.
that palette. How do I take this artistry of the clothing I've put together and create it into something else? I love that
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah, and you're reminding me, Sarah, of why I got it into my little head just 4 years ago because I this is 4 layers of fused glass. So it's a
Hmm.
6,000-year-old art form that was birthed in Mesopotamia, which is Iraq, Iran, and Syria. The Arabs were the origin people of glass,
Wow.
and they're not given enough credit for that.
Mm,
And then it moved to Egypt 4,000 years ago, and they took it to another level, then the Romans to
mm,
another level. So it's been around a long time. So I'm very happy to bring such an ancient art
yes.
into the modern world and give people in my workshops an opportunity to work with such an old art and honor it. But this is
And
4 layers and
understand the
understand.
root and the core of where it came
Yeah.
from, right?
And why is your piece going to take 18
Mm,
hours to be in a kiln? Why is that?
mm.
So, I don't go into the weeds too much about that, but I am a geek and I try to hold back in a class because if I've got an 8-year-old in the class, they're going to be glassy-eyed in about 15 minutes. Yeah. And I take ages 8 to adult, and believe me, the 8, 9, and 10-year-olds just
Yes.
rock on.
Yeah.
But it's 4 layers of glass, and in order to cut this out with a diamond ring saw, which is kind of like a scroll saw for wood, so you can go around corners.
Hmm.
It's about a 6 by 6 or 6 by 8 inch rectangle, and then I will cut the butterfly wing out of it. But beforehand, I got into my head 4 years ago, what if we take a high resolution photo of it before I cut it up,
Hmm.
and then I can transfer that image onto fabric?
Ah,
So, so
hence what's
around,
behind you.
and that is actually, yes, that could be a scarf. In
Hmm.
in reality, that this particular piece behind me is 4 layers of glass that you're looking at, and that's actually the cover of a journal.
Ah,
Um, so you can but I can translate it into anything. But this scarf that I have on is 100% an image of glass.
wow. I
And
love
it's
that.
as a
You're
matter of
giving
fact,
it another story, right?
yes, and I think like you said, it comes back from that
Mm,
place of the disowned artist
mm,
expressing in clothing. So I guess I have to look back, and you're reminding me that I got that bright idea 4 years ago to make my art more accessible.
mm.
But why? But I went back to fashion. There
Right,
you go. So
right.
full circle
A full
back.
circle, right?
Yeah.
We know when we're wearing something that makes us feel
Mhm.
good, and especially something that has a story to it, has a
Yeah.
history to it. And like somebody, oh, I like your scarf. And you say, did you know? And you're educating people along the way. It's not just like,
Yeah.
oh, it looks pretty, full stop. Like there is a story to this. Do you want to know what
Yeah.
it is? And I think that's something that one of the things that's kind of missing in the world nowadays is people have forgotten their wonder. People have
Hmm.
become headliners. They're living very much by the sensation that's been imposed upon them, and they've forgotten to listen to the heart and the soul of,
Hmm.
I wonder, I wonder and just the exploration of what if I did this or what if I did that or what if I looked at
Hmm.
this differently or what if I listened to someone in this way and what if I took the time, which is something we
Hmm.
all have, but took the time to want to know more, right?
Hmm.
And you decided, okay, what if I take this glass and create it into fabric? It could be a scarf, it could be a blouse, it could be a curtain,
Hmm.
it could be this or that, anything that anybody wants. But it's not just that. I mean, I can imagine the colors of the glass on a beautiful piece of fabric, like a sheer silk type fabric, as a
Hmm.
curtain blowing in the wind,
Absolutely.
and
And
the sun hitting it. Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
bolts of fabric can be created with my designs as well. So that,
Hmm.
like you say, so people can make something they want themselves.
Right.
But what? my work is very, very colorful,
Mm.
but they come
Good.
like if my this scarf is from the Joy collection. It's Raspberry Delight, and it has a story. The Joy collection has a story, and Raspberry Delight itself has a story. It's not very long, maybe 3 sentences, four
Mhm.
sentences. The piece behind me is from the Hope collection, and it has a story. So, if people want to, and I think we learn by story, we
Yes.
identify with story.
Mhm.
But maybe someone just wants that hummingbird bright orange pop of color. What can I do to take an outfit to another level, or just pop the color today, and I'll be more subtle monochromatic tomorrow.
Right.
So my work, certainly my custom pendants that is wearing your story close to your heart, your
Mm.
personal story. But the way that I speak to people when I'm in a show, Sarah,
Mm.
is if it doesn't speak to you, walk away. Come
Yes.
back another day,
Mhm.
because it's about women listening to their intuition. That's how I create my pieces. I open myself and channel energy. So if I'm using that energy, you're going to feel it or not. And
Yeah.
so use your intuition now, like you understand very well, is you're I'm in high frequency and so are they. Now
Yes.
they've got a piece that is going to bring them a lot of joy for more than just a season's trend. I
Right.
I do one of a kind pieces. I don't look at fashion, what's the latest color
Yeah.
coming up. I don't care. It's what does my intuition with the glass want me to do?
Mhm.
And I am the assistant or the conduit, and working together with that energy. And I just know that it's going to speak to someone, and that's the person who should own it.
I buy that way. How does a book speak to me? I mean, when I
Mm.
buy a pendulum, how does it speak? It's got to be vibrational.
Yeah.
It's got to be
Yes.
something that I can feel. I talk all the time about don't think, feel your thoughts. If we
Yes.
just think our thoughts, we get confused. When we feel our thoughts, we have understanding what the knowledge is all
Mm.
about. But I think we've got to understand we are vibrational creatures. We all have a frequency,
Mhm.
and that frequency is just as identifiable to the people who know how to identify it as fingertips. And that's how people can do remote healing and everything else. So when you're
Mhm.
going in to buy something, don't buy with your head, right? Just go in, take that breath, stop for a moment and say, guide me to
Mhm.
where what I need. And you will go towards something and it will be suddenly enlarged and calling your name. And you've got to
Mhm.
have it because that's the vibrational piece that you need in your psyche, in your frequency, that's going to stabilize your frequency or enhance your frequency or just make you feel safe and at home with it in it. Whatever it's meant to
Mhm.
be, it's there for you. When people create their art, whether they're writing, whether they're teaching, whether they're
Mhm.
creating an artistry piece, this is why I say to people, when your heart and your frequency, your loving passion is in it, then people are going to resonate with that frequency even before
Mhm.
they identify what it is.
Yes. And that's part of that introduction that you read out.
Mm-hmm.
I do, certainly on my website, you'll see pendants where I've opened up and created, something for the Joy collection or the Hope
Mm-hmm.
collection or whatever. But also, people can come to me and we can do a color palette,
Mm.
basically a vision board with glass. And now
Yes.
you've told me the meaning behind the colors, the what you want represented in the piece. And basically I have to fire every piece to make sure if you really want that color of pink, is the glass actually going to behave that way when I
Right.
fire it? It
Mm.
might not look that way before it's fired. So I have
Mm-hmm.
to test that. I do a video for that person. Here's what I think your color palette, from our pre-interview conversation. Do you approve?
Mm-hmm.
Is this, and we tweak, and then I can open up and start. But the whole idea is, if it's your story that's here,
Yes.
what has happened? And I'm not wishing this would happen,
Right.
but one example is a very beautiful looking woman was at the flavor of chocolate, which is a Seroptimus fundraising, and it's in a huge ballroom. And you dress up, and then you try all different kinds of chocolate from various chefs that kind of are
Oh,
competing for your
sounds like
attention.
heaven.
It's you know what? It is a wonderful fundraiser,
Right.
and 50% of
Delectable.
it's savory, not sweet. You get
Right.
to try
Yes.
savory chocolate
Hmm.
more
Mm,
than mole.
mm.
Anyway, she's sitting there with her husband, and she sees this young man around, early 20s walking toward them. And that young man comes all the way across the ballroom and comes up to her, and she whispers to her husband, "Honey, I think this young man's going to say something about, you have a beautiful dress on or whatever." He said, "Excuse me, ma'am. I just want to tell you that I love your pendant."
Yes.
And
Yes.
it was her energy, he
Hmm.
didn't know why he was walking
Right.
across the room. He just knew
Mm.
that he had to do that.
Yes.
That's how powerful
And the
that
courage to do it too.
yeah, and the
Right?
courage to do
Hmm.
it, they're two of them sitting there, and they're in their early 60s, late 50s, and another woman just who had her custom pendant on, a gentleman walked across the street, and he was kind of like, kind of a burly kind of guy, and didn't she didn't know him, and he got really close to her, but she felt like she felt that he was safe enough, but
Yes.
he couldn't help it. He was taking her finger to kind of almost touch the pendant. He couldn't, he just said, "I have to tell you, ma'am, I just love your pendant."
Mm.
Walked across the street, and I won't tell you any more stories, but I have a story like that women tell me. "I had your pendant on, and here's what happened."
Yes.
So this is
People are
about,
drawn, it's never mind
yeah,
just the beauty of it, but they're
yeah,
drawn to the energy of it. And
yes.
it's a combination of your energy and the love
Hmm.
of making it and representing their energy that's in
Yeah,
it. And then it magnifies. So
yeah.
it's not just a beautiful piece that's standing out, it's sending out signals.
Yeah, I like the way that you said that. It's truly co-creation,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? And
Yes.
it just gives me a pleasure as an artist to have women enjoying their essence and their story, and a number of people who are on stage and are in the public eye. Certainly they're drawn to having this done because, one woman, I got it there just one day before she was to be on stage in Seattle,
Hmm.
and I couldn't get it to her any sooner because the energy that I needed to bring
Yes.
her in, there came a point where I wasn't feeling the love,
Yeah.
if it's the best way to say it.
Yeah.
I had to walk out of the studio and wait for her energy and her daughter's energy to come back.
Be in sync.
And
Yes.
and I knew there was a deadline. I knew that she wanted it on stage. And of course, as an artist, to have someone wearing my
Yeah.
piece on stage, like, how lovely, right?
Yes. Yes.
But you know what? I made a commitment to this one of a kind
Mhm.
work and co-creating and channeling energy in this way with a woman, being the dominant part of this energy creation. And you get tested, and you can talk about being tested.
Mhm.
I got tested. Okay, this is would be very good for your career and blah blah
Yeah.
blah and your art, the ego piece, right?
Yes.
And are you going to walk away for 3 weeks and miss this deadline? And the answer was yes.
Mm.
I would.
Because if
And
it's not representing, if you can't really put your whole representation in there, then all it is a piece of glass, right?
well, and here's the temptation. I
Hmm.
have enough glass skills now because I went past the 2 weekends before I started teaching. My husband going, "You're going to what?"
The
And
teacher's inside of me.
I know, because he's not a teacher, and he's going, "You need to learn more." No, I don't. And but the whole idea was that if it's not someone's energy, I have the skills to make something pretty.
Yes.
I can do it completely from my ego, completely from my
Yeah.
mind. I have the skill set, but I choose not to.
Right.
And so I spent $70, $75 Canadian to get that shipped to Seattle within 24 hours.
Hmm.
So she could wear it, and she got it on the Friday night and was on stage Saturday morning. But you know what? If I'd missed it, I missed it. Like it,
Yeah, but
you
that's
know,
called integrity. If you
yeah.
can't deliver, I have the same with people. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I have refused people to interview because the vibe isn't there. It was more ego driven,
Mm-hmm.
and agenda driven than heartfelt. People ask me
Mm-hmm.
all the time, what are the people that you interview? And I say, all those that come from the heart, that have something to share that's going to be of benefit to others. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're not coming from that space, then I'm afraid this network isn't for you, because these are the people I celebrate. And I'm all about vibration. I'm all about celebration of that frequency. And we are in an
Mm-hmm.
era of raising our consciousness. Our
Mm-hmm.
consciousness is being turned up, and some people are uncomfortable with it because they're suddenly becoming aware of past behaviors that now they're aware, they realize they're wrong, which is not about persecuting for what you've done. It's being aware about who you are now and what you can do moving forward. And when we do have a piece that has been lovingly made with that vibration, it's a support system to help your
Mm-hmm. Oh,
own
I like that.
energy,
Let me
right?
write that down. Support system. I love it. Thank you.
But it
Go
is a
ahead.
support system of the two energies on the days that you feel low energy or the days that you're around confusion. It is something that you can wear that is very much close to the heart and your whole nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
that it becomes that support to help you to move forward despite the chaos that may be around you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what
Grounding, right?
Yes, yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Giving you that center, because the center that lies within us is where we need to be. That's the home where we are. That's where the
Mm-hmm.
clarity is. And if you've got something that can hone that energy in and just, holding it. I've got crystals around me, they're right
Mm-hmm.
over there, and I've my pendulums, and sometimes it's just simply a question of holding. Just
Mm-hmm.
holding. I don't need to speak to it. I don't need to say anything. I just need to hold it. It's doing its job. It's recalibrating, right? And so, other than just being a beautiful piece that attracts people,
Mm-hmm.
very often it is that comfort where you know that you are supported. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
is something we desperately need in these
Yeah.
times.
Good. Well said, for sure. And I go through an 8-hour process to smooth the back of the pendant so it
Mhm.
feels like silk, because the glass doesn't feel like that when it comes out of the kiln.
Right.
And I've had women say, I can't help it, I'm petting my
Yeah,
piece.
yes, yes.
Which I guess is that, now I have more language thanks to you. I'll be calling you for language quips to kind of help me
My
with this
pleasure.
along the way. You're now like part of my mentor group. The support system of energy that,
Yes,
you know what, if sometimes if you just need to close your eyes and hold it, that it becomes another
yes.
aspect of it that I hadn't actually thought of, other than women saying, I can't help it, I pet it.
Right. Well, and then of course, the more you wear it, the more of your energy that kind of goes
Yeah.
into it. And we do get challenged on the outside,
Yeah.
and we do get to that thing of like, oh, I don't know, should I, shouldn't I, or just the conflict
Hmm.
that's around me. And having something that goes, it's okay, let's just switch off the outside, let's go
Hmm.
in. Let's go
Hmm.
in, and having something you could physically touch, take me in, send to me. Let this be my breath. Let me be
Yeah.
present with self, because in the present of self, there is clarity, and you have so much more understanding of what your next move is. You can't
Yeah.
decide anything in conflict or in chaos. It
Right.
has to be that. So if there is something that helps you do that, I mean, I consider myself a pretty centered person, but I still feel, especially as an
Hmm.
empath, the chaos out
Hmm.
there. And
Yes.
sometimes I have to do what I need to do to my breath
Hmm.
is being challenged, right? And I need something that's going to center me. And why not something beautiful? Why not
Hmm.
something that you feel is a friend that's traveling with you?
Hmm.
Why not something that you can touch? And you've got me. You've
Hmm.
got me, right?
Yes. Yes.
So
Exactly.
why do people spend so much money on diamonds and this and that? Some people for flash and dash, but for other people because it is something.
Hmm.
I'm not about diamonds per se. Give me the color stones.
Hmm.
Sapphire is one of my favorites. Of course, I'm
Mm.
blue. Everything about me is blue. And it's about, what does it say to you?
Hmm.
As you said, going back to the beginning, there's a story in everything, right?
Hmm.
And things that we have around us are telling us a story. So it helps us actually choose, what do I need around me
Hmm.
that is going to be the right dialogue speaking to me all the time? That's
Yeah.
important in your office. That's important in your life, in your arena. It's important with what you wear. It's important with that piece that is your security. Because when it's around you, you feel, okay, the stormy weather's quote, quote out there right now, but that's okay. I'm being supported by my surrounding and what I'm wearing and what
Yeah.
is with me. I can face anything.
Yeah. And I really believe, and this is on the homepage of my website, because if you want to get really clear about what your values are and whether and you're going to be challenged to stick to them, like I
Yes.
did about, barely getting that
Yes.
piece to Seattle. But the bottom line is you, oh, how do I want to um, say that when you are moving in life and speaking
Mhm.
from your intuition,
Yeah.
you inspire others to do the same. You don't have to say, I'd love to inspire you.
You're
All
right.
you have to do is be in is honor your own intuition, and others will want to follow. So that's a form of energetic leadership, and that is makes the world a better place. So that is one my very first value statement on my homepage. Why do I get up in the morning and do what I do
Yes.
besides my passion for glass and for creativity? Is uplifting women and encouraging them to use their intuition, because the I really that it's my contribution to women in leadership. I'm just doing it a little differently than a coach or so on.
Yes.
And
Yes.
everybody's valuable in terms of how we help uplift
Yeah.
women and help in transformation. And I haven't met a woman yet who isn't committed to transform helping women transform in one way or another. So this becomes very important to me because I lost my voice from age 10 to 42, and
Yes.
and the only reason I got it back was with the love and support of my husband and my close friends who were willing to love me until I loved myself. They
Yeah.
could see the vision of me as an artist and never faltered, created a safe structure when I didn't have that safety. I was too afraid to provide safety for myself, that centered place. I couldn't find that because I was too scared.
Right.
So I was able to get past that and become inspire others just by following my own passion and letting my pilot light
Yeah.
get brighter, because it didn't extinguish. I don't think humans pilot lights usually do. They just get very, very small,
Yes.
and you need to get yourself brighter. Part of my tagline is your style shining brighter, and I think all of that comes from my fear and my pilot light going low, and not honoring my creative intuition in the way I do now. And so it's my contribution to storytelling and inspiration and leadership. So that's another reason why I stay committed to, we're one of a kind. My pieces need to be one of a
Yeah.
kind, or I walk away, Sarah.
Yeah.
I
No,
just
that's
walk away
integrity.
from it all.
That is the integrity because, I have a saying, inspiration begets invitation. When people are
Ah,
inspired, they are invited. They are invited to step forth. And the people that I interview are those that have found the courage and the strength and the resilience and the ability, despite what hurricane is around them, to go through the storm and become. And in that
mhm,
becoming, they are now the illumination for someone else,
yeah.
right?
And you just need to you don't need to, when you're in a race, you
Mhm.
don't look at who's beside you. You just look at what you're doing. And I have 9 tips to keeping your creativity alive and your wild woman and keeping your wild woman alive as well, very important.
Hmm.
Um, and one of those is just stay close to your passion
Yes.
and don't think about the impact that you're having out there in the world. You stay close
Yeah.
and let other people enjoy your passion and have an impact in the world for you.
Yeah. Exactly. Um, you know, I just love what we become for the journey of life. And I've just written my memoir as well. And I've just written it in an observational way. This happened, but what did I become because of it? Who am I
Hmm.
now today because of my journey of life? I've had
Hmm.
some of my own rocky waters. I've had my own things I've had to
Hmm.
challenge. I've had my own obstacles to overcome, but everything has made me who I am today. Right? So it
Hmm.
isn't about revisiting the pain and this and that.
Hmm.
There is a thread, obviously, that's through there, but it's more about the what it's done for me.
Hmm.
We can't choose what happens to us, but we can choose what we do with it,
Yes.
right? And the more that we step into that resilience and that courage and just willing to get up again, get up again, get up again, and yes, it's tiring. Yes, it's exhausting, but that getting up again and facing the day or willing to pivot, willing to try something
Hmm.
new, the willing to look at things in a different way, however dark they feel at the moment,
Hmm.
knowing that pilot light is there. I had 8 years in my marriage where I disappeared from my life. My spirit
Hmm.
had to protect itself. So the human was functional, but the spirit went into the
Yeah.
dark. And the light was there saying, come on out, Sarah. And I'm going, it's not safe. It's not safe. And
Yeah.
I realized that if people are there for too long, apathy can set in. And
Yes.
that is
Yeah.
dangerous. So I came out into the light, and at first it was extremely blinding. And I felt the shadows chasing me. But now I am at a stage that I love the dark, for I am the light in the
Hmm.
dark. The
Well
darkness is
said.
not my enemy, right?
Hmm.
So,
I like that.
but you have to be willing, one foot in front of the other.
Hmm.
And when you have got something being ignited in you, how many people have I interviewed that from childhood? I love doing this as a child. I wanted to do this as a child, but I followed the sensible road,
Hmm.
right?
That's me.
The thing about the sensible road, though, it's giving you the tools and the skills now
Mm.
to really be good at the passion, right? So nothing is
Well,
a waste. It's
no.
transferable,
Yeah.
right?
It's just all part of the just trusting in the journey that
Yes.
and have you ever done this? I took a 4 month kind of like a spiritual mastermind. And we did, part of the exercise that we did was you did a journey through your whole life of all the different
Mm.
highlights and things that happened to you in your life, and then it's sort of, where did that take you?
You're right.
And then you did another one and another one, and you did it for every decade. And it was just part of an exercise, and then we reported out to each other. And I saw that like, yes, I was told to be sensible, and I listened to authority, and I went into
Mm.
dental hygiene, and then I went into a degree in dental research, and then I went into my master's, and did all that stuff. And that's part of what allowed me to offer a workshop with only 2 weekends. you know um but
Exactly. Because the
just as an
skills were
example.
there. The
Yeah.
skills were there, and all you're doing was transferring those skills to the passion.
Yeah.
And then everything else is exploration, right?
Yes, and it's what, like, I like what you said as well, is it's not what happened to us, is what we did with it. And I
Yes,
didn't honor some of those, what did I do with it, or how did it take me in a different direction, until I mapped that out for every single decade. And
right.
I have to tell you, I felt that it was very unfair in that exercise with that group, because I had to do it right into my 60s, and they only had to do it into their 40s or
Yes,
50s. And I
yes.
I went, oh
Hey,
my God, I'm
look,
getting so tired.
I was
I've
57
got
when I
8 more
started this
years to
journey.
go in my
Yeah, I know.
map.
No, no. I know. The
Anyway.
people, this is one of the reasons why we do what we do, right? Is that we want
Yeah.
people who are younger to get
Yeah.
in the right vibe,
I know
Right?
it
You
was
have the
so
right vibe
cool.
tribe around you. Make sure that, this is the reason why there's over 3,000 shows here of wisdom from people who've taken the journey. They're there to
Hmm.
share it with you so that you don't have to have the Grand Canyons. You can have the
Hmm.
potholes and know what to do about it, but you don't have to go for the Grand Canyons. We've done it for you, right? I
Yeah.
started
Yep.
this venture, what I'm doing now at 57. I'm 68 now, going on 69. I didn't even know what a podcast was when I was asked to
Hmm.
join this network. I had no idea what I was doing, but I
Hmm.
did have a passion. I came from a
Yes.
counseling background. I came from um, um, always a support. I've always been able to see solutions. I've always been able to see
Okay.
possibilities. And although not trained in it, it was life training
Hmm.
and from the
Hmm.
experiences that I had. And that
Hmm.
always took me. And so this became something that served me in what I'm doing. I'm
Hmm.
like, I've just had my 10th anniversary of my own network. And it's like,
Yay.
this is the longest I've ever stayed with anything.
Hmm.
That because and it's because I have a passion, because I'm willing to get up every single day and do it. They say when you do something for free, which I don't
Hmm.
always recommend, try and get
Hmm.
paid for what you do. But if you would do it for free, then you know you found the right thing.
Hmm. I understand what you're saying. And you had a natural ability for
Mm.
something and then you fought you
Yes.
nurtured it, right?
Yes.
And it
Much like
part
your
of it is
glass.
what is your natural
Yeah.
ability? Like,
Yes.
and
Yes.
sometimes we don't know, we have to wait till that's revealed,
Yes.
but it's
Or be
building on
willing
that
to discover.
Yes, be willing to discover. Exactly. And that teaching piece for me was way before I went into teacher training. My Bachelor of Science in Dental Research was actually a degree in training me to become a dental hygiene teacher. Actually,
Hmm.
it doesn't sound like it, but that's what that degree back in the day was for. But I had a little classroom down in the basement of our house, and my poor two younger sisters had to play teacher with me all the time. I didn't want to play with Lego. I wanted to play teacher. And I had a little blackboard with a chalk and everything. And I was like in my happy place,
Right.
and because I was the older sister, I did push them a little bit, just a little. Um, and
You can't
but that
deny who you are, right?
I know, but when I look back, when I was doing that mapping out every decade, I started to see where the
Mm.
natural pieces were. So,
Yeah.
yes, I felt hard done by because my art was hidden and put away, but that teacher piece got very big
Right.
as
Which
a,
enables you to combine
yeah,
the two today, which is,
and and
and that's the
teaching,
thing, we don't know. Each decade is, is your book of life, is your chapter of
yeah.
life, all right? And each experience we have is, part of that chapter. And, those chapters, we could look back on them and, I could have done without that chapter. I really could have. But then you go, okay, as rough as it was, and maybe I stayed in that chapter too long, what did I get out of it? And I
Yes.
think this is something I'm saying to people all the time. And this is actually the gift of what COVID did for us. It allowed us to pause and reflect.
Hmm.
And we don't do that enough. We're so
Hmm.
busy chasing. One of the things I used to be the hare in the race,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because I was the visionary. I could see everything in its completion. Let's do it. But I was
Hmm.
not the foundational builder. I wasn't the bricks and mortars or the blueprinter, but I could see the vision. I could see the people there. I knew how the impact it was going to have, and I
Yeah.
wanted to get there. I have, and through doing this, become the tortoise. And I love being the tortoise because now I'm paying attention to every move I make. I'm savoring every ant and snail that I meet along the way. And, it's that I'm not in that same hurry because what I'm doing is I'm being so much more of a plodder and methodical and gathering and gathering
Mhm.
along the way. And that my destination isn't the winning of the race. It's,
Mhm.
the end of my life knowing I've left something of great content behind that will outlive me.
Mhm.
That is
Mhm.
what I consider the winning of the race now.
Yeah. And don't you find too that we balance out throughout a lifetime, like the hair piece, and that, like, you learned some very valuable skills by
Yes.
being the hair at that
Yes.
but but now you're excited about being a tortoise.
Mhm.
But I bet in your early 40s you didn't give a hoot about that darn tortoise. You know, it's
No, no,
just,
no.
I mean,
I was coming out of a divorce and I was stepping into a totally new Sarah. I had
mhm,
discovered I'd broken literally 152 lifetime patterns, and I was in discovery of who Sarah is now. I was coming out of a marriage,
mhm,
I was approaching my 50s, and now life was about exploration. I was in high energy, high
mhm,
possibilities. I went into investment of investing a new quantum uh, electric motor, and but it was way before its time, and we got
mhm,
caught up in the 2008 crash, and we got caught up with the wrong people that stole it, and I ended up bankrupt. And it was
mhm,
like, but it felt so right. Everything about it was so right. It was right. There's nothing wrong with the motor. And the person who I was the muse for and that I was backing and that I kind of then gave him other things to use to go is now working with Microsoft and an AI, taking the same
mhm.
philosophies that he put in the motor in a different way, right?
Yes.
But he went
Mhm,
his way and I went my way, and then I was offered this opportunity,
mhm.
right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's we look back at sometimes we go, God, that was such a waste of time. And some aspects of our life it is, and we stay too long when we should have gone. But the other things is no, it was all the silent preparation for where we are
Yes.
meant to be.
I like that. And it's all part of being proud of who you are
Yes.
now. And that's why it's one of a kind,
Yeah.
because no one can map out a story,
No.
your story.
Right.
You may meet someone who's like a Sarah clone
Hmm.
and has ended up exactly where you are,
God
but
help
how
them.
they got there is so different, right?
Yes. Yes.
So I want to hear everyone's origin
Yes.
story, because I learned something about, people are mirrors. And
Hmm.
I learned something about a little piece of myself every time I hear someone else's story.
Yeah. The
So,
resonance and the relatability,
yeah.
and yeah. And I call these the why shows. Why are you doing what you're doing today? How did you get here?
Hmm.
Because when people understand that, hey, I was very successful in the job I was doing, but only because I had been silenced as a child,
Hmm.
right? And that the heart and soul of me was saying, hey, bang, 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 open up these doors. I want to come out, right?
Hmm.
And then in
Hmm.
every single one of us, there is
Hmm.
something trying to come out and saying, stop living life by expectation,
Hmm.
by other people's expectation.
Hmm.
Start living in your own essence. You are enough, and what you have to contribute is enough. It's not compared to anyone else.
Hmm.
It is unique to you, and you are here for a reason, right?
Hmm.
So don't live from the outside in. Start listening from the inside out, and there you'll find the true enrichment and the true
Yeah.
abundance of your being.
Yeah. And I think that nowadays there's so much in the woman's leadership and
Yes.
what you're doing and what other women are doing to honor the storytelling and the leadership. Because I think when you are crying for help,
Hmm.
you'll never feel so alone.
Right.
And
Yes.
and 20 years ago, there just wasn't as much support. There
No, there
just
was not.
wasn't,
No.
nowadays
Internet,
there,
that opened the
yeah,
door for us.
yeah. And
Yes.
so now because I really think what I learned from my own experience and what I've kind of observed out there, when people have support, when the cry for help comes, and it will come exactly when it's supposed to,
Yeah.
no sooner, no later, just like Gandalf said, a
Hmm.
wizard always arrives exactly when they're supposed to.
Yes.
So, but when that day comes, if you have support, you can just flourish so much
Yeah.
better, deeper, richer. I don't want to just say faster, because it's not about going
No, it's
faster,
not about
but it's
speed.
about going deeper,
Deeper and
richer.
richer.
And
Absolutely.
but that's done with support
Yes.
of some kind. And if you don't have someone in your immediate family or friendship circle, they've got you. They've got female wave of change, global,
Yeah.
the Women's Speakers Association, the e-women. There's just so many groups that will uplift you and support you and give you that safe structure and hold your hand. until you're ready to fly a little more solo and get your wings.
Right.
So,
You know, in my period, I was doing that for other people, but there wasn't anybody around that could do it for me.
mhm,
And so when
I
I
know.
started this in 2012, the things I've discovered about me, the growth that I have personally had, the sense of just being Sarah, you know, and that's okay. That's all
Mhm,
I need to be. Everybody else is taken. I just need to be Sarah, right? And being secure in that, not apologizing for that, not feeling that I'm letting someone down.
mhm,
Right?
mhm,
You know, that has been the journey that I have been enriched by doing these shows, by interviewing the people like yourself who have taken the journey, who've opened up to becoming. And now,
mhm,
in the essence of who you are, your cup runneth over. And it's spilling over on everyone else as an inspiration that begets that invitation for them to take their own journey, knowing that they are supported, whether directly or whether just as an arena of women who
mhm,
have been there before you that are that inspiration to help you move forward.
mhm.
We're not meant to do it alone. However, each step we take is our choice. Each
Yes.
step we take is, nobody's not going to walk it for you, but they can give you the skills, the tools. We don't want a map. We don't want a
Mhm,
map because we want to explore where that journey is taking us. But you can have people all along the way. And when you
mhm,
fall, that will help pick you up, that will cheer you on, that will
mhm.
give you what you need in that moment for that particular part of the journey. Please don't look that, oh, I need a manual to do it. No, you don't. The biggest leap you'll take in your life is that first step.
Yeah. And that harkens back to the heroine and the hero's journey,
Mm.
which I know Joseph Campbell popularized in The Power of the Myth, but it was way before Joseph. It's a very ancient,
Hmm.
it's the concept of a quest.
Hmm.
And what it's such a great symbol of trusting the
The
process because
process, yes.
and when you look at Lord of the Rings, or you look
Hmm.
at The Hobbit,
Hmm.
for example,
Hmm.
don't the funniest, oddest creatures that you would normally not have anything to
Uh-huh.
do with, they're not your people as
Hmm.
you knew before, pop into your life, and each one serves a purpose and helps to further you on just a little bit more, but then they leave you and then you carry on and then somebody else. But
Yes.
I remember when Sam crossed the last step out of the Shire, and he turned to Frodo and Frodo said, "Why have you stopped?" And he said, "Because if I take one more step, I am going somewhere that I've never been before.
Right.
Like I'm not
Yes.
in the Shire any longer."
Right. This is
But
I'm
look
out
at
of the familiar.
yeah, and look
Hmm.
at the band of people,
Yes.
including gnomes that
Hmm.
he didn't know gnomes. There was a fairy and
Yes.
so on, and they they were that troop was there as their anchor and support for Sam to take that next step.
There's something else though. He became the hero of the story,
Yes, he did.
unwittingly, unwantingly. And this goes, we look to the heroes as the giants, we look to the heroes as the loudest or the, you know, the most
Hmm.
successful, but the heroes are the ones that are willing out of conviction, out of belief,
Yes.
out of out of necessity or out of love and compassion for humanity or life that are the heroes.
Hmm. Well said. It's true. It's true. And just keep that wild woman alive.
Mm,
Keep your creativity alive. And please, please, please do not use the word artistic. We
mm,
have way too many art scars in North
yes,
American society. We have not been brought up to revere art.
right.
And we are all creative. We all have creative scars. And just be creative. And that might be making the best stew and just
Yes,
feeling so good about a wonderful
yes.
stew, or you've got a great, you've got a garden that you love. It doesn't mean you have to get to the craft table.
No,
It's
no,
just, express your creativity, and your wild woman is your joie de vivre.
yes.
And all that is your passion for making that stew, going out and saying hello to your flowers in the morning. It doesn't matter what it is, but the joie de vie is, what are you passionate about? That is, as you age, especially, it's what makes you fascinating.
Yes.
And
Coming from the
as
heart,
don't
right?
yeah, don't you
You
want to be fascinating?
Yeah. Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's just about being passionate. The one thing I do not hear, I don't hear people saying to an artist, when are you going to retire from art?
Yeah. Well,
You don't hear that.
no, you
I'll
don't.
do it till the day I die. And they expect
Exactly.
that you'll do it till the day you
Exactly.
die.
Because
But
this is
yeah,
you. It is
yeah.
you. It's an extension of you. It is it's part of you. I love actually interviewing musicians because they're not in discovery of who they are, but they are the instrument, whether it be voice
Hmm.
or what one with their instrument. Music is their voice. Music is their translation
Hmm.
of how they feel, and it's music's very important to me. So I love that. But anybody that's found their path that is coming from the heart, that passion, that get up every day, that to create. Now, I say this, we're all an instrument in discovery. What
Hmm.
instrument are we? How do we play it? Yes, we could be solo, but imagine if we come to the orchestra and each in our strengths harmoniously play together, how
Hmm.
transcending we could be. And look at an orchestra. You have the soloist, but you have the triangulist, and he's not in every piece, but he is exceptionally important in the piece that he is in.
Hmm.
So there is no hierarchy because that collectiveness
Hmm.
coming together when we need to come together is it really important. Another
Yeah.
analogy I use the janitor and the CEO. You walk into a building, when you're going to go and have an appointment with the CEO, and everything is dirty and tardy and everything else. Immediately, your perception of that CEO and that company changes. So the janitor has
Hmm.
laid the path as to how you're going to receive that
Hmm.
CEO,
Hmm.
right? Unappreciated, but the person that has laid the ground for you. And I
Yeah.
think we need to look at the trianglers and the janitors and the stew
Yeah.
makers and the people that, the storekeepers, the people at the cashiers. Where would we be if we couldn't pay for our groceries? How would we eat? Right? So I think appreciation and gratitude for what you bring to life and what others bring to life, and
Yeah.
stepping into that gratitude brings light upon us all.
I agree completely. And I feel buoyed. Is it
Yeah.
buoyed or buoyed? I'm not
I
sure.
think it
But
depends whether it's American or English.
oh, okay. Tomato, tomato.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
yeah. I by all the women in the world that are invested in transformation
Mm,
of and helping to uplift and support women. And so coaches are important to me
yes.
because they provide that Reiki masters,
Yeah.
the many people that support women and help women tell their stories, which it could be getting on. There are organizations that help people who want to tell stories get on stage even.
Yes.
um, and I'm part of that, but I help women wear who they are in beauty, as a glass artist. It's my little contribution to the bigger picture, and not for a minute do I see myself as doing something different than all those wonderful
Exactly.
people
I'm
that
going
are
to have
out
you
there.
change one word though,
Okay,
right?
I'm ready to write it down.
Right. Well, no, maybe it's don't just say women. There
Yeah.
are binary, there are men. Men are wearing
Yes.
jewelry now.
Oh,
There are
yes.
people that just want to have that signature piece that represents who they are, no matter what they are. No matter
Abs
what they
It
are.
doesn't matter what
Right.
pronoun you are
Yes.
using, it's your story and your
Hmm.
beauty and beauty close to your heart. You are absolutely right. And my husband is this amazing soul that didn't fit in the corporate C-level world, that his ego does not precede him when he walks into a
Right.
room.
Right.
Um, and he's attended some female wave of change meetings, and he goes, "Oh my goodness, enlightened, smart,
Mm.
thoughtful women that can have serious conversations. Like he's hungry for that because
Yes,
that
yes.
that didn't happen in the corporate world that he danced in.
No, no.
And so he's more of that heart-centered place, and it doesn't matter your pronoun or your gender. It's about how do you want to share who you're, and I provide just one way for people to share. But thank you for that correction. You're absolutely right. I need to be more
Encompassing.
inclusive in my encompassing in my language, because I
Mm.
have been to eco fashion shows
Hmm.
that one in Victoria at the end of April,
Hmm.
and others. And I am so proud to sit and watch the runway shows and of people of, he, she,
Yes.
pronoun, it doesn't matter,
Nope.
strutting their stuff, supporting that designer, because this is about local designers
Mm.
being showcased.
Yes.
And women of many different shapes and sizes
Yes.
and nationalities, and um, men in beautiful makeup with the best turn ever. It's like, could I ever turn like as well as you
Yes.
as a model? You're
Yes.
going to show me that.
Yeah.
Um, but it was wonderful to have such an inclusive way of doing a runway show. And those are the shows I want to be at. Um,
Exactly. They're
you know,
flamboyant, they're creative, they're like an orchestra all on their own, right?
and yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
and
it's
yeah.
only in the last 100 years that men had to get dowdy. You know, they
Hmm.
were dandy before, the way they dressed very flamboyantly, or would wear makeup, their hair would be done. And but in the last 100 years, we've kind of said, you've got to be boring and you can't wear jewelry unless it's, hand,
Hmm.
cuffs, and you can't look feminine. You can't do all of this. You've got to look like a man. And it's like, well, that might be your interpretation of a man, but I don't care how he comes, in what package he comes in. Can I feel his heart? Can I feel his soul? Can I feel his spirit? And
Hmm.
can I embrace his intentions?
Hmm.
Right? So we've got to stop this stupid thing of packaging,
Hmm.
of the packaging we come in. And we've got to start seeing the essence of who we are, the
Yes.
light of who we are, that that illumination of who we are, and get out of this, which is neofundical thinking of man, woman, this, that, got nice little tied patches. Don't try and tie me up or box me in anything. I am wind and
Hmm.
I must be free,
Hmm.
right? And yes, I relate to being a woman, but there are people who relate to being something else, and who cares? As long as no harm isn't being imposed to anyone else, get out of your own way,
Hmm.
right?
Absolutely. And it's interesting that you're mentioning that, because I just got some bales in from California that are very hard to get. I can only get 5 at a time. But they are a different kind of bale than this one, that has a profile that I consider more masculine, if you will,
Hmm.
and just not as ornate. And then I'm working on getting necklaces and chains that just give that variety in
Yes.
terms of um, appealing to different people and different tastes. And it's just interesting that I'm just starting to move into that area. And I've definitely had people that have come up to my table when I've done a live show and said, if that had a leather thong on it,
Yeah.
like, for
Yeah.
and it had a different bail, that's perfect for me.
Yes.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
definitely people who they've given their feedback to
Hmm.
me, and now I'm moving into that area. That'll be a project for this next year,
Great.
to just take my pieces in that direction as well, so that I've got a more inclusive choice.
And you will find that when it's something that you can wear any day, every day, they don't take it off,
I know.
right? It's something
Yes.
that is part of them. It's part of their energy field, right? And it's something that stays with them.
Hmm.
People have these favorite things, and no, I know, no, no, you can show me something else pretty, but no, I feel this one. I feel
Hmm.
this one,
Hmm.
and that's what people want to have, is something that that feels. You can have it in the way that you dress. How many
hmm
times do you go, you're going to go and do something and you try on a dozen different outfits because it doesn't feel right,
hmm
right? And then you put that one, oh, no, 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 that's okay. I feel good in this one. And totally different to what you thought you were going to wear, right? But it's the same with having those pieces with you. Again, they're your support system.
Yes.
They're your comfort. They are your security. They've got your back. So this is the
Yes.
reason why we're drawn to fashion, why we're drawn to beautiful pieces. It's the energy that comes from it. It's the energy that it ignites within us. That
hmm
people call it confidence. You may call it confidence if you like. I just say the volume's been turned up on your energy and your presence is seen.
hmm Yes. And it's just an outward enhancement of how
Yeah,
you're feeling inside. And
exactly.
And
Exactly.
nothing makes me happier when the inner beauty and the outer beauty are in
Mm,
alignment. And
yes.
that's so I'll stay in my own lane with and I'll do glass, but do it in different ways and
Yes.
expand. But I'm going to stay in the glass lane, I think.
Oh no, definitely. I mean, yeah, see,
Mm,
obviously with the fabrics and everything else, that's an
hmm
extension of it. But without the core, where would
hmm
that be? You need the
hmm
core generator for the expansion of the fabrics or anything else that you do. And the
hmm
core generator is the glass.
Yeah, and certainly as a creative like anyone, I love watercolors. If I was
Mm,
to paint, that would be my choice of paint. And I may expand beyond that in terms of me playing and being creative for sure. But I just, as long as I have this much fire in my belly for this 6,000-year-old art form,
yeah.
I'll share that with the world and let people enjoy as they see fit.
We're in a world of fake, 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 fake. Everything could be regenerated, 3D'd, manufactured in China, everything made cheap. And it's all very well. But at the same time, but when we have a piece that's been made with love, with
Mhm,
loving vibration, when we feel a connection to it, there is nothing to replace that. It doesn't matter
mhm.
what the cost is, there's nothing to replace it. It's not about the
Mhm,
flash and the dash. Again, it's about the
mhm,
light that it brings out within. And, it's as much as we want to kind of duplicate things out there, and as much as we want to have mass instead of, less is more,
mhm,
um, we we get to, as we grow older, as we're willing to take this journey, to understand it's the few things, it's the
mhm,
few people, it's the few places. It is a different form of familiar. We've had the familiar of the struggle and the familiar
mhm,
of the expectation, but when you become familiar with yourself and you know which
mhm.
frequency you're on and which people are the orchestra around you, that are part of your orchestra, that familiar is a place that's safe and it allows you to open up and let your light shine bright.
Yes. And I find too, in the markets that I'm doing and so on, I was at for the first time, and then I'm in the Oak Bay Avenue
Mm,
street market, and there's only four markets a year, and they're only 4 to 8 p.m. because where they closed down Oak Bay Avenue, which
yeah.
for people that don't live in the Victoria area, that is a section of Victoria, and it's normally traffic, but they just shut it down from 4 to 8, 4 times a year. That's it.
Mm,
And there are a number of, I guess, depending on your definition of retired, there's definitely people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s
yes.
in the Oak Bay area. So, what I hear is, and I hear this very often, once you get into your 70s, you're starting to give things away. You're
Hmm.
starting to declutter. You're starting
Yeah.
to
Minimize.
simplify, as
Mm,
you're saying. And I love the way you say to allow your light to shine brighter and just it's like kind of a clarity process. Let's get
yes.
rid of the noise and
Yeah.
even the physical noise around me.
Hmm.
So for those people, I watched a couple of ladies that were around 76, 78, and within 30 seconds, they said, that scarf is for me. That speaks to me. That's what I
Hmm.
want. I didn't have to say a word.
No,
Um,
they were
it
in
was
tuned.
just,
They were
they
in
just,
tuned.
but they
Hmm.
don't want a lot of things.
No,
But if something speaks to them, or definitely the idea of your own personality, your own
Mm,
essence and beauty around your neck, like a timeless piece that, like you say, when you want to, I love the support system of energy. That's what you're going to put on that day. They're getting rid of all their other jewelry, for sure.
yes,
And so
yes.
it's a different way of looking at the world in terms of possessions as well.
We want something meaningful.
Yes.
Right. You know, the journey to become purposeful. I mean, every single one
Mm.
of us is here to contribute, and every single one of us has something to contribute,
Hmm.
big or small. The bigger it is, the more the burden it is. The smaller
Hmm.
it is, the more simple it is. But we're all here to contribute. And when we understand
Hmm.
what that instrument is and whom it's for, and we are that instrument, and we step into that without regret, without angst, just embracement of who we are. That's when we truly understand we're the real jewels in life. And then what we have on us and around us becomes far more purposeful because it has to be meaningful. Otherwise, it's
Hmm.
frivolous. We've passed the frivolous stage. We
Yeah, I
want
like
something that
that.
is meaningful, right?
Yeah. And I find younger people too are wanting
Yes,
meaningful. They are asking, what is your social purpose?
yes,
I love that the younger generation is looking at things different, not quite in the way the 70-year-old is,
right.
but they're looking at things differently than we did in the 20s or 30s sometimes.
Mhm.
And because we were also full of social purpose back then as well. We
The
weren't well listened.
70s, yes.
Yeah, we weren't well listened to, but we
No.
certainly would between
We
ourselves,
were the shift and the catalyst, and then
yeah,
capitalism kind of tried to came in. But the thing is, the seed had
yeah,
been planted. And, you know,
yeah.
we as baby boomers, I'm a baby boomer, there were so many of us that, you know, we
Mm,
kind of kept that 60s and 70s revolution of essence of being. And there's
mm-hmm,
more to life than this exterior. There's more to life than this and that. And then, you know, the capitalism kind of overpowered and, you know, certainly 80s, 90s, and early 2000s,
mm-hmm,
most certainly that. I have three millennial children. I have one, she and her husband are completely vegan, and they are very much about saving life and very much about saving planet. And they built a special house that actually deals with and generating its own energy. I have a son who has a restaurant that use locally sourced food, and they do everything on their own, on
mm-hmm,
house as much as they can. And it's all about serving the community.
mm-hmm,
And empowering the community. I have a daughter that's a butterfly that she's a mixologist and she designs drinks for people for their signature, their event, their this and that.
mm-hmm,
But the essence of who she is as a spirit from the moment she was born to now, and she's 40, is the gift that she is because she
mm-hmm.
lights people up, whether it's through a drink or through her presence. She just ignites people's spirits and lifts them up. And each one of them is they're on their own quest, they're on their own journey. And for them, it was very important to have something meaningful and purposeful because
Mm-hmm.
they look back on that era and go, I don't want to relive that. I was a child in that, but I don't want that to be something I emulate.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that handmade, homemade,
Yes.
meaningful gifts in
Yes.
every way, shape, or form
Yeah.
is it's a movement,
Yes.
and it's gaining, and it's
Yes.
and it's not just older people, it's
No.
these wonderful millennials and
Yes.
Gen
Yes.
Ys,
Jenna,
Gen Zs.
yes.
It's wonderful. And the stories I hear about people, like when I cut out these butterfly wings, because they're the shape of, this is a tropical butterfly shape, because think of the blue morph, like it's a
Mm,
very big butterfly. When it closes its wings, it's more or less this shape, but there's swallowtails, and the leaf is the most common butterfly shape because when they close their wings, they don't want a bird. They want a bird to think they're a leaf and not a butterfly, something
right.
to eat,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Um, but people, when I cut them out, there's all kinds of scrap glass left over. And so I cut out little rectangles, hearts, triangles, little circles, and they're called bits of butterfly bling.
Ah,
And they're less expensive than the butterfly signature pieces. Well, they're often purchased for gift giving. And the
yes.
and they each come from a collection with a story, and they each have a name with a story. So people will email me back and say, this is what happened when I gave one of your pieces of bling to someone. And they give me some feed, not everyone, but
Yeah,
people will actually take the time to email
mm,
and say, this is what it meant to this person.
right.
And I mean, that's
How
very
satisfactory.
satisfying
Yeah,
when it's a
exactly.
meaningful
Um,
gift.
I'm showing my shoulder now because I'm going to
Mm.
show you. I have
Mhm.
the two
Ooh,
butterflies, and they're two different
wow.
colors. And I'm into the Celtic runes, and there's a rune called Gifu, which is meaning of partnership. So these are two
Oh,
butterflies forming the shape of one, and it's the two butterflies coming together in partnership, and that's my partnership between myself and my children.
oh, that's lovely. What very meaningful
Mhm,
gift.
mhm.
Gift
And
to
I did it at
yourself.
50.
Yay! That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So and again, I like just being part of a whole support
Yes.
system of energy that I can create a meaningful gift in glass or from the collection because you're giving a meaningful beanie or tote bag that came from a collection with a story and it came from that glass originally. So it's just very
So,
fun
but it also
to be
changes
part
the
of gift giving.
right, but the price range, because not everybody can maybe
Yeah.
afford the pendant right now.
Yeah.
They're not in that financial status, but have a piece of essence from it. It's like fairy dust,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like it's a part of it. The story is still continuing on, and how big that story is going to be is how you immerse it in with yourself. But it's so you, and with the scarves and the fabric, you've allowed there to be a different price range for people. And
Yeah,
so,
more
right,
accessibility
more
of one of a
accessibility.
kind designs
Yeah,
because once that pendant's gone, it's never repeated.
right.
So it's gone forever, and my
Yeah.
commitment is that I'll never make that glass again. But I might take that a small portion of that image before it was cut to be a pendant, and that can be a scarf 100 times over.
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
And it'll appeal to someone or it won't. But you're right. I did it because my niece from Montreal said, Auntie Susan, I might not buy a pendant as a birthday present for a friend,
Mm,
but I would buy a scarf. So
right.
if that was 5 years ago, it was kind of my niece that sort of got she planted the seed, and
Yes.
then I started to figure out, well, how could I do that? And then I learned about a design lab in Montreal, and it's all sustainable fabrics. Even the journal is approved by the Forest Alliance.
Lovely.
So that was important with my values too.
Mm,
It's not like eco fashion where you're taking something and repurposing it,
right.
but it is a form of sustainability. So I sourced that out to make sure that it was a company that did that kind of work, and then work in their design lab after I've designed from the image to be able to do this.
Mm,
So I have to thank my niece for planting that seed, but it gives me pleasure when people say, I was able to buy a $45 zipper carryall, but it's from the play collection and it
mm.
makes me smile. And my
But
friend that I gave it to, it
yes,
makes her smile or him
exactly.
smile.
Every time they use it, they have a smile, and that means the smile is carrying on. But when it comes to wedding gifts, it's like there's only so many toasters and things that you can buy, and you want to buy something unique. And if it's within the budget, imagine giving both of them from the same glass, different shape, different chain or whatever it goes on, as a wedding gift for the couple.
Aren't you clever? And that it happened in Edmonton in 2019. Your idea, somebody else had it, although I haven't thought about it for wedding.
Mhm.
So now you've planted that seed for me. So I will commit to that and show you what I make in the next 6 months around that.
Yes, yes.
But I was commissioned by a publisher, like an author, who is doing an anthology of 21 authors.
Mhm.
And we co-created a panel of 4 layers of glass with the colors that represented the book that was coming out
Oh,
of the
great.
anthology, the feeling, and it was about the kind of part of the story was about transformation in butterflies. So that's why she thought of me.
Mm.
So we created that, and I cut out 21 bits of butterfly bling that, and every single one was one of a kind, but they came from the same energy, and they
Right.
came from the energy she created with me. And she gifted that to her 21
Oh,
authors.
wonderful.
And I flew to Edmonton, and we did a workshop together to talk about how we co-create, what co-creation looked like for us to do that. And
Mm,
then I got on stage the next day and talked about transformation because it fit with all the other
exactly.
speakers and what they were talking about. But I've now, and that was an idea I hadn't thought of back in
Exactly.
2019. And now there's a couple of other spiritual retreats where the owner of those spiritual retreats is thinking about using my artistry, one of a kind, to gift. But again, it's going to be the same energy. So
Exactly. Well,
I
that
love that
truly
you,
is sharing the energy. That truly is,
yeah.
right? But
So you,
I'm going to go a step further.
mm,
Giving a gift to a newborn
oh my
that they can
goodness.
carry with them all their life. Maybe it's something they might wear, or it might be something that's in their room, but or something that they like to just hold, right? But that is a gift of energy that will grow with them because that's the beauty of energy. It grows. It
Hmm.
grows and it has no limitation on its growth. It doesn't matter what size it's in, it grows. So imagine giving that as a gift as a newborn that can grow with that child and support that child through its life.
I will keep talking to you, Miss Idea Lady. And
Graduation, you
I think so. Yeah.
know.
Well, I have actually had one lady, sadly, her parents passed away within 1 year, like in
Mm,
the 1 year.
yeah.
And she came to me and said, could my parents' remains be in a pendant that you would create for me? And I said, just a minute, I'm not sure. So I had to fuse at the temperature. These are fused, the four layers are fused very hot.
Yes,
And I needed to make sure that the glass wouldn't explode.
right.
And if I put ashes in the layers,
Yes.
right? And what would it look like?
Yeah.
Do you want the ashes turn black? Would you like them just buried within the colors? You never see it, but you know mom and dad are
Yeah.
there.
Right.
And or do you want a little bit of the ash being part of the design and so on and so forth? So anyway, I used my dear darling departed friend Shirley, who I have a little just I was given a little bit of her ashes. And so Shirley really supported what I was doing way
Mm,
back in the day. She passed away 30 years ago. And so Shirley helped me to
yes.
test the glass, to consider that. But again, people come with ideas, and you're
Yes,
coming
I
with
think it's
even more
fabulous.
ideas. I hadn't thought of that.
Right.
So
I love it.
I now know that I can do it,
Right.
you know?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I'll be coming to you for more ideas.
Well, it's a gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. And it's that it doesn't wear out, it doesn't go out of fashion. It's something like a good piece of art that is always there, right? That I have a picture right here that I've had now for well since 97, bought it in Victoria. And it's just a printing of a local artist, but it's a bunch of flowers that are put together. But the colors, every time I look at it, ugh, they feed me. The colors jump out and
Mm.
they feed me, right? And I recently interviewed somebody from Australia, um, Kathy Nog, Knogg, and she had given me a donation. She said, "This is not enough. I want to give you a piece of art." And during our conversation, she talked about dog portraits. And she ended up doing a beautiful dog portrait of my deceased dog, and I'm looking at it right now, and
Yeah, I
she
know. And
really captured the essence.
I saw it on LinkedIn yesterday
Right,
because
right,
I know someone else in Souk that does that kind of work.
right, and it's
And
very
it's
special.
it's very, very
Yes,
special
yes.
that that's
Going
done.
going back to we want something of meaning. We
Yes.
want to look at something, it feeds me, or it gives me beautiful memories, or I can touch it and I can feel the comfort of it, the
Mhm.
support of it. We want these things in our life. It's all very well, this tinsel and this and that we gather along the line. And, I went from a 4,000 square foot house down, down, down. I've got stuff in storage right now, and I live in just 2 rooms. If you saw, I couldn't swing a mouse in here. There's no room, right? I'm just waiting till I move. And when I move, I want it to be the last move. And then whatever I can't use will go. Right.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's but I am an antique collector. I love antiques. I love touching the wood or touching something and knowing there's a history to it, and
Hmm.
that the test of time of 100 years or 50 years of stories have gone into that wood. Right. And I love the antiques of that. Its resilience to last that long,
Hmm.
despite the wars or despite, and from my case, the amount of moves I've done. So I love things that have the quality is yes, the quality of the product, but the quality is in the story that it shares
Hmm.
with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you helped to confirm that I'm on the right
Oh,
path for
yes.
me, and I just started butterflies to recover from a very serious corporate burnout 11
Mm.
years ago. And I started making little pendants to warm up my fingers, thinking I
Yeah.
would do a big competition piece again once I healed from my burnout. And I put one on Facebook, and this one lady said, "That looks like a butterfly wing." And I went, "It does?"
Mm.
I didn't make it as a butterfly wing.
Right.
And
Right.
and then I looked at it and I said, "Oh," and I got a butterfly book and I had ripped up butterfly calendars and I had all the butterfly pictures around me to look at the wings. And I thought, oh, I'll just try 8 of them. And I took them to a little souk show. And then people started telling me, because they are transformation symbols, the universal symbol of transformation is a butterfly, mostly.
Hmm.
And people started telling me their stories of transformation. Well, this reminds me of when I did blah blah and I went in a different direction. I didn't plan. If someone said that I'd be doing that 10 years from now,
Yeah.
I laughed in their face.
Yes.
That kind of thing. And I'm standing there at the table hearing all these stories and excitement. And I'm going, maybe I should make more.
Yes. Well, I
So
mean,
it,
but look
yeah,
at the symbol of the butterfly. It's a
yeah,
caterpillar, and then it becomes mush.
yes,
Nothing. No identity other than mush. And from that comes the creation of this beautiful butterfly. And that's the
yeah,
reason why it is a symbol of,
yes. It's a
metamorphosis,
wonderful
of coming up.
symbol.
It
Yeah.
is, because quite honestly, we need to become the mush
Hmm.
so we can give birth to ourselves in our own light,
Yes.
right?
I don't know if you know this. I didn't know this till I started learning more about butterflies because I became curious and now I've got all kinds of books. Um, caterpillar mush is a scientific term.
Oh,
It's
really?
yes, it's part of the metamorphoses that occurs in the chrysalis.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
and then symbolically, when we talk about our stories, it's not that we want to just stay in that part of the story, but we've all had a time where we just felt like caterpillar mush,
Yes.
and who we had been before had disappeared. So there goes your anchor.
Right.
And what you're going to become is so unknown. You
Mm,
you can't even verbalize it. And you
exactly.
and this is when people really need support because
Yes.
when you're in that caterpillar mush, you have to, as a coach told one of my business coaches a while back, and I love this because it's easy to remember. She said, "Stop, drop, listen."
Yes.
And
I go
and
listen, learn, apply.
yeah, but when you're in that mush stage,
Hmm.
you must stay quiet. You must listen. And if nothing else, listen to anybody that will tell you to stop and not do anything, to
Right.
just be and wait and wait and wait. And people who haven't been patient or they've pushed from the
Mm.
mind instead of from the
Yeah.
heart,
Hmm.
waiting is one of the hardest
Yes.
things. Like the three fingers are pointed toward me, just
Right.
saying,
Oh, yes, I'm saying
to
that all the time.
wait. Guess this is gestation
Yes.
at its finest because of the caterpillar mush concept of how a butterfly's created.
Yeah.
It's mesenchymal cells that are part of that caterpillar mush. And that's the only part of oral microbiology geek stuff that I'll say because when it comes to oral microbiology, I actually was on the speaker circuit nationally across Canada speaking about that very topic. Was I did many topics on women's health, but I was known for my oral microbiology talks. So I vibrate when I talk about bacteria, so I'll be quiet now.
Well, but look where the vibration took you
Yeah, I
into
know.
the wing, right?
Yeah. And
And
I
that's the
love
thing.
insects. I think I could have become an entomologist back in
Mhm.
my early 20s. I just love bugs.
Right. Some bugs, not all bugs, some bugs, but I actually love the fact that I call it, being the blank slate. And the
Mhm,
thing is that again, nothing on the outside will affect you in that cocoon moment. It's the frequency that you're fed. And this is
just
why, I used to say to people in my coaching, take a ruler, 1 to 12 inches. No, I'm not metric. I'm British. 6 to 12 are the people that are on various levels of positivity. They've
mm,
embraced that higher consciousness. Your 4 and 5 are the people in the discovery of wanting to
mm,
embrace that consciousness, so the cocooning type
mm,
stage. Your
mhm,
1, 2, and 3 are people that are still living on the 3D vibration of hate, of fear, of
mhm,
insecurity, of distrust. And they take so much energy to live in that frequency.
mm.
So they attack the people, the 4 and 5, that as their energy grows, they suck it right out of them. So this is why it's exceptionally important when you're in that transformational period to make sure that you are in a place of safety and the people around you are of good vibration.
Yes, and I'm sure you know who Louise Hay was.
Of
Of Hay
course.
House. Yes, Louise was very adamant about when you have a new idea or you have a new realization or insight about yourself, be very careful who you say that to.
Yes.
And keep it quiet
Hmm.
or just where you have extreme trust because you're in that metamorphosis, you're in that caterpillar stage and it's very tender and
Yes.
vulnerable. So strengthen yourself. And when a butterfly comes out of the cocoon, their wings are wet
Hmm.
and they actually have to have the sun to dry and make their wings rigid enough to fly. So if they were trying to fly too soon, they will die.
Yes.
So I just
Everything
remember
has
that
its time. Take
every
your
yeah,
time, right?
and
But
Louise said stay quiet
yes,
and
yes, that's what I was
don't
about to
don't
say.
get so excited that you
Yeah.
tell anyone and everyone right away.
Yeah.
So I just remember her advice from
Yeah,
many
wait until
decades
your
ago.
wings are hard, right? And then you go, look
Yeah.
at me now. But there's something also about being in that space of silence, of darkness, of presence.
Hmm.
This is where you connect to your own frequency. This is where you
Hmm.
ignite your own vibration. And the more that you're in that beautiful space, instead of being afraid of
Hmm.
it and what will I become and all of that, it's like, who am I? Let
Hmm.
the vibration, let the frequency ignite. Start and identifying your frequency, your vibration. Start listening to the very core of you right here. If this pushes back against me, I do not do anything. If it's then that propels me
Hmm.
forward, then I follow. I learn to listen to that. And it's in that stage of that metamorphosis where you learn what really is important and how to listen to your soul, how to ignite your heart, how to activate your spirit so that your mind will know what it needs to know when it needs to know it, right? It's not a mind thing. It's an entirely a spirit connection.
Yeah. Don't I love what Albert Einstein said. He said that the heart or the imagination, the intuition should be the master and the
Yes.
mind the servant. You must have both.
Yes.
But he said, sadly, in our society, and I think he said this in the 1930s, it could have
Mm.
been the 1940s, he said, sadly, our society has it in reverse.
Yes.
So
Yes.
just make your intuition the master
Feel it.
and
Yes.
and make friends with your mind and your
Yes.
ego
Yes.
and play nicely. But who's leading? Who's leading? And it's
This
just
this
a
is why
question
this
to
is
ask.
it is, and this is the reason why this is self-discovery wisdom.
Yes.
Because when we step into the divine wisdom, that wonderful knowingness that we channel, that
Mm,
ignites the heart in truth, that gets the
mm.
spirit into action. It extracts from the mind the knowledge that is relevant to serve the wisdom.
I
We
like
have
that.
to we have to feel the thoughts, not think them. That's mechanical.
Hmm.
Thoughts and the data that we've taken is database. And if we don't have any contents and wisdom and know how to use it, all it is knowledge that has us spinning around.
Hmm.
This is why you must come from the soul, the heart, and the spirit to understand which knowledge is relevant in this time.
Hmm. And we need support for that because our
Yes.
society financially even
Has it the wrong way around.
rewards people who lead with their mind.
Yes. Yes.
But there's more, as we talked about earlier, there's more and more groups and people and
Yeah.
organization, mentors like you and so on, that basically, I think Einstein would be very happy,
Yeah.
that are, you know, honoring both, but just doing it a little differently.
Yes.
But society pressures and so on are really helping people to do just the opposite.
Exactly. The more
So
they push, the more we pull away,
so we need
right?
help.
Yes, we
Everybody
do.
needs help.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
you
look
do.
at Nikolai Tesla, and he was given this incredible, he downloaded an enormous amount of wisdom that he had the intellect to understand what to do with. But the world rejected him. Otherwise, we would all have free energy. And then it took him, instead of giving up and giving in, it took him into a different journey of understanding what that solar energy is. And I invite people to listen to Tom Palladino. He's in my mentors group and I've interviewed him. The last one we did is what is scalar energy? And that scalar energy is as lightning comes down, before it hits and burns and fries, that scalar energy is healing energy. It enlightens. This is why you have some people that get hit by lightning and suddenly they're awakened, they're enlightened. And this is why I have other people that get hit and they'll die. It all depends on what level that scalar energy is. And Nikolai Tesla discovered that this scalar energy is energy that heals, completely heals. And Tom has taken up. He has the materials from Nikolai and he's continuing that journey. If we are open to actually understanding what energy is, the power of that energy that is around
Mhm.
us, that is within us, how to tap into it, how to use it, how to expand on it, we would just get out of our own ignorance. We think that our intellect is so bright, but it limits our ignorance, right? It
Mhm.
makes us ignorant. But when we open up to that wonderful wisdom of
Mhm.
what if, I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to open my mind, I'm willing to discover. And we have things to discover that we're scratching the surface on. And the more
Mhm.
that people scratch that surface and reveal, we'll
Mhm.
realize how long we've been holding ourselves back as a human race. Our technology is so much more advanced than we are as a human species. It's time for our consciousness to rise and match up to what we are actually meant to be here for.
And I'm so glad you're here to help because I love your turn of phrase, and I'm very, very honored to be part of your program and your energy and the message that you have for your audience. It's
Right back
spectacular,
at you.
Sarah.
I know how important something that feels it's, as I said, just support system. That's the way I look at
Yeah,
it. It's
that's what we
beautiful
need.
and all of that. It's a support. It's something that's familiar. It's something you can trust. It's something you know that's got you,
Mhm.
right? And at the same time, it's beautiful. Some people may be attracted to the beauty of it, but some people that come across the room go, "I love your pendant." That it
It's,
wasn't the beauty from across the room. It was the energy that invited
I
him
know,
from across the
23-year-old
room.
old male
Exactly.
walking over to a woman who's, in her late 50s. It was
Right.
very cool.
You're very cool. And that just shows how energy draws,
Hmm.
right? And then when more we tap into that and more we tap into the things that exude that our energy, our essence, and the more we allow our essence to reveal itself and become part of that collective, part of that orchestra, the more we're going to rise up to a much healthier lifestyle here on earth, because we are actually we come from the universe to have a human experience, and we are meant to rise up that the human and the universe experience becomes more one, not disconnected. So thank you for sharing all of this today. I can't wait to see what your glass does. More of the products, and we live around the corner from each other, so we're clearly going to have to meet. I'm going to have to come and see your studio and see what
Well,
you've got there.
I would be honored. I love that we have opening hours till Canadian Thanksgiving on Saturday and Sunday, so people can drop in 12 to 5. And we do private workshops. If you have 4 people, I'll do a beginner workshop ages 8 and to adult. So because I can't help teach, right?
Mm.
And if I give my husband a butter tart and really, really good European coffee, if I have over 6 people, I will take 4 to 8. He'll come and do one-on-one coaching, and he's very good at that. He just
Mm.
doesn't want to be in front of everyone doing the lecture
Right.
demo
Right.
piece, right?
Yeah, I get
Yeah,
him. Yeah.
but it's just wonderful to watch the aha moment,
Mm.
that Oprah aha moment
Yeah.
when someone, because sometimes 2 people come. I have scheduled workshops, but the private ones, I'm doing more and more of them because if with 4 people, you can do a girlfriend gathering, a
Yes.
reunion,
Yeah.
a birthday party, whatever. But someone say, people go around and I say, why are you here? What your expectations sort of thing. And I often get, well, I'm here to support my friend. She's the creative, she's the artistic one. I'm just here to support her,
Okay.
but I'm not creative.
Okay.
And then at the end of the workshop, they've made a tea light tray or a
Mm.
sun catcher, and it's just as beautiful as their friends. And the look on their face, that's another reason I get up in the morning to
Yes.
see that realization that, oh my goodness, I am creative. And they
Yes.
no longer, for the rest of their life, can ever say they're not because there's a piece of glass sitting in front of them that proves them wrong. And
I've just
that's
had, I'm
pretty
sorry,
cool.
I've got people going through cancer support. Go together, share your energy, create a piece that she can wear or he can wear, they can wear. And that means that constant supportive energy that is there, right? Wedding shower, the
Hmm.
bridesmaids, a
Yeah.
bridesmaid thing. Again, the sharing the loving energy for it for you to carry through in your journey in life. There's so
Hmm.
many beautiful ways. A lot of people that are going through maybe a divorce and need new energy. People
Hmm.
there that are making a piece, that are sharing those other pieces there. I'm with you. I've got your back. Here's my energy, and it's forever there.
Yeah, and you're talking about people coming to create their
Yes,
own piece,
yes,
right? Yeah,
yes,
because you don't create pendants that are at this level, but
right.
yes, you can create pendants. And I did a woman's retreat where each woman was making a pendant that was their essence, their
Hmm.
personality, and it was part of the personal growth of that weekend.
Yes,
And I was just playing one small part in that. But you're right. People can come as a group for whatever reason, and I've had people bring sparkling juice and full-on hors d'oeuvres in a picnic basket. Like they're having their own party, their own
right,
celebration. And if they want a particular theme in what they're going to create, I'll make it possible. You
right.
know,
But
because
just
I'm
imagine
yeah,
somebody going through something and how you can support them. How you
that's
can
very
support them
cool.
is something like that. Again, back to the support, clearly my theme today. So now you're a part of the Voices of the 21st Century.
I am.
And so a collective book and anthology there. How do people get hold of that? And if they want to
Yeah.
come and see you
Hmm.
and be a part of this, obviously they have to be in the area. But let me tell you, folks, come and take a trip to
Hmm.
Vancouver Island, to Victoria. Make this part of your program that you're going to do. And at the same time, then take your time to explore the island and maybe end up in Tofino.
Hmm.
Make it a holiday event. And this is one of
Hmm.
your stops along the way. You will not regret it. How do people get hold of you? How did they book you? How do they have a conversation? And how do they get hold of the book, Han?
Yes. It's all on my website. I have an amazing web developer and tech assistant, and my husband just joined the business not as not just he's an amazing glass artist himself, but he also was a cybersecurity architect. So I've got
Oh,
like tech support coming up my arm, which is really good. And the two of them are trying to take as much business away from me as possible,
wonderful.
which is great. But if you go to my website, susanisaacdesign.com, and I know it'll be in your show notes,
Mhm.
you will see the tabs for workshops, for custom pieces, and you can definitely contact me for more information about wearing your essence and story close to your heart. Um, and it's an entire e-commerce site, so you can look at the scarves and the zipper carryalls and
Mm.
the little bits of butterfly bling, which are, great for if you just want a small piece or if
Yes.
you want to gift. And then my signature butterfly pieces and my book, I'll try and bring this up without it disappearing. Voices of the 21st Century, women having an impact in women transforming the world. I didn't even know about this, but a girlfriend said you really need to be part of this and write a chapter. But look, there's a little butterfly on it with a
Yes.
heart that's all in green. So what I did is I took the color background of this and I created this custom journal that you see behind me to be a companion because there are book club questions in the back for book clubs to buy the book. And it's 45 different stories, as different as fingerprints, of course.
Mm,
And then I did a companion journal just because I'm an artist and I couldn't help myself. But this is also on my website for purchase and the journal. And we're working on putting a package together where the journal and the book is less expensive because you're buying it as a package.
collection. Right.
So all of that's on the website, thanks to incredible people that support me. And then, of course, coming to the studio Saturdays and Sundays, 12 to 5 is drop in, but people can book a workshop at their convenience. I'm around every day but Friday, so people can do that. And I have definitely had tourists and people coming from Vancouver to have a getaway, stay in an
Mhm.
Airbnb, and do a group reunion. You know, women that get together every 3 years, and they decided that the woman who lived in Souk was the one that year, and she booked the workshop for as part of their whole weekend activities together to get together. So there's lots. I've done family reunions of 5 year Chloe right
Yeah.
up to grandmother. And I will take 5 to 7 years old as long as there's an adult dedicated to that child.
Right.
They're amazing, but the independence between age 7 and 8 is quite enormous. And the
Yes.
8 year olds hold their own just fine.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's lots of different things I do, but it's all glass. I guess I could call it glass centric, couldn't I?
Yes, you could.
Um,
That's a perfect name.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, but my
You
website
know,
will kind of
imagine
guide.
what a great way of having an anniversary together.
Yes, I
Right.
have had people do that. When I have scheduled workshops, and they'll start again in September, but in the summer, people want to kind of book their own because they've got holiday plans and company coming and so on. But I have had a number of couples come as date night, which I
Hmm.
never thought of, but
And perfect.
because the men love the glass and their orientation is more the machines
Mm.
and they create a little differently than women. But it's something they can both share together. And
Yes.
then they've got that conversation and that memory together forever. And I get a lot of grandparents and grandchildren because
Mm.
grandparents, especially the baby boomers, they see themselves as the cultural directors of the family. And
Uh-huh.
so they're providing that cultural experience and that time together with the grandchild, which is without the parents, so that
Yes.
they can have that bonding time together and say, Grandma, remember 5 years ago
Yeah.
when you made that sun catcher and you couldn't find the right yellow and I found that yellow for you? And they have that, you've got something together and you've each made something that you probably still have,
Right.
that you can talk about. So
Yes.
lots of different reasons to come for a workshop. But I have so many different ways that I'm trying to express myself in glass, and you'll see all of that on the website.
Yes. Again, for the people listening, it's Susan Isaac Design. So that is SusanIsaacDesign.com. So SusanIsaacDesign.com. You can also get hold of her at Susan@SusanIsaacDesign.com. On Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn,
Mhm.
Susan Isaac. You can find her all there as well. And yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to meet. That's no question whatsoever. I love what you're doing. Anything that is crystal glass or anything like that, that is anything that you can look at that warms your heart, that lifts you up, or gives you
Mhm.
a pat on the back or a smile on the face, or makes you just feel, you know, I see you, I'm there for you,
Mhm.
that just makes you feel good. Those are the pieces that we want around them. And in storage, I have this most beautiful cut glass vase that my brother bought for my father to give to my mother on one of their anniversaries because my father was terrible at buying gifts. My brother was always very good. And it's a beautiful, big, heavy cut glass. And I remember being in Rome, watching a couple of dolphins being blown for me by glass that
Oh.
then I gave to someone and wish I hadn't, I wish I kept them. But just watching that whole process of it. So, this is the thing. It's all very well nice to have something because it's pretty and it's nice, but you don't want to just toss it somewhere and forget about it. You want something that has meaning for you because
Hmm.
then it's something that is gained. It's like a good friend. It's always with you. It's always
Hmm.
there for you. So really, really important to have. And again, if you can't afford the actual pendant, you've got the scarves, you've got all the other pieces, you've got everything
Hmm.
else there. So whatever the budget, whatever you want to put your foot in to try and start, you know, gathering the things, you're there for it. So
Yeah.
this has been wonderful, Susan.
It
Great.
has been really wonderful, Sarah. Thank you for the invitation
My
and
pleasure.
my pleasure to learn more. And whether you like it or not, you're now my idea gal. I'm going to be talking to you about, well, what do you think of this idea?
Come
Or
on over.
I've got this I want to create. How would you create an opportunity for it? So you are your imagination and your fire in your belly is alive and well. Oh, and one other thing before we go, I do have a free download for everyone.
Oh,
And
great.
that I sent the link so you can put that in the show notes. And what it is, it's 9 tips on how to keep your creativity alive and your wild woman. So feel free to download that. You'll
Yes.
end up going to my website, and it's just some way, and it's just little ways. It's about just being the
Hmm.
creative souls that we all are, and doing the little things that keep the momentum going, to keep that fire in your belly and that mojo and
Yes.
that juiciness. And that's just about helping to keep your passion alive. And believe me, if you're in complicated business situations, um, innovation is birthing something
Yeah.
that has never been before. It's not about rehashing an idea. That is good problem solving, for sure. But what if that part of you is so alive that
Mm.
as you're working out something in a business problem, that you actually have that piece of you so active
Mm.
that you actually truly can birth something new? That is the real definition of thinking outside the box.
Yes. What
So
box?
create, yes,
What box?
black box,
Realizing there
so
is no box.
yeah, so creativity
Mm.
affects all parts of your life. So
I
anyway, you
say
can
I
read
say
read
this
my
all the time when you're
yeah,
stressed, when you're anxious, you crunch your body, you stop the oxygen, you stop everything from going there. Taking the deep breath and opening up, that's when the clarity to the problem is there before you, right? So it's
yeah.
allow, it's downloading, it's being present with the heart, soul, and spirit, intuition, whatever you wish to call it, getting out of your head, letting that be the last thing that
Mm.
gets the information. It's got to go through the other process first, right? So most certainly. And when
Yeah,
you
so I,
do,
I just almost forgot to mention that I did create that for people to just boost their creativity
yes,
and
and I'm
just
sorry,
get
I'm glad you
started.
mentioned it because I'd
Yeah,
I'd overlooked that. It is actually on your show page, so people can go to the show page. Just have to put in a name, Susan Isaac at
yeah.
selfdiscoverywisdom.com. If you listen to this down the road, and her show will come up with all the information on it. And really what you're talking about, when we step into creativity, we're actually stepping into living. That is what living is about. Always being creative, always being wondrous, always just inquiring about what else is out there, and soaking it up and taking it in and making it a part of us. If you want to know what life is about, it's about living, living. And when you tap into that energy and you're truly living from a passion and something that you really are committed to do, that is when you're living,
Hmm.
right?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Susan. We've learned a lot here
Thank,
today. And just to everyone else out there, it's like, whether it's Susan's beautiful gift, which I do hope that you come over to the Vancouver Island, have the experience of the island and take the workshop and everything else, because it'll be a journey you won't forget. But whatever else it is in life, don't just have things for the sake of having things. Have something that is meaningful, that is energetic, that is a friend, that is supportive, and that and heightens your own essence that somebody is going to walk across the room to come and say hello to you about. All right. So until next time, folks, remember, we're all energy. Turn it up. Let yourself shine bright. Bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tab at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration, it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.